Welcome back to Strong Mind, Strong Body. This is episode 49. And in this episode, I want to talk about the new won't save you if the basics are weak. So hear me on this one. So again, a little story time for you. I'm out on a group ride. I know there's so many things you can actually discover or kind of, if you detach from the situation, just kind of think about a bigger picture. And this one hit me pretty hard. So there's this guy. We're going to protect his name for listenership, but he's big into mountain biking, right? And that's kind of my thing. But he's always talking about the new this or new that, and I'll kind of look at him and be like, hey, I saw you were doing this on the bike. Oh, but this is the new way to do things. This is how the pros are doing it. And I'm like, uh okay, that may not be how we're doing it, but okay, and just kind of brush it off or whatever. And again, this guy coaches a local mountain bike team. So he is helping develop our youth and make them better riders and make them more competitive and all these sort of things. And the whole thing behind this is, as we were going downhill, we're descending, I like to call it a Mach F. We'll let you fill in the blank there. But we're just railing down this sucker, right? I'm hitting speeds, high 30s, low 40s, sometimes touching mid to high 40s. But as we're sitting there going along, this dude is shot out the back. Boom, gone. So quick. And what we're talking about is there's foot positioning on a bike. And if you're watching this on YouTube, usually when you go around a corner, you're going to weight, the outside foot, and it's going to help drive you through the corner. But this new way to do things in mountain biking is to keep your feet level. Well, here's the thing, right? He goes in, the bikes are made like this, it's made like that, and you're supposed to do this and you're supposed to do that. If you're getting shelled, and if those of you that ride bikes know what I mean, and it's a capital S when I say shelled off the back of this, and you can't even hold your own on a moderate descent, not even a wicked one where we're just putting on a clinic, but you can't even hold your own. How are those new techniques working for you? How's that new way to do things? How's what everybody else is supposedly doing working for you? But yet the people around you that is putting on an absolute clinic are not doing what you're doing. But this guy is so focused and so like, my flag is planted on this is the way, and this is how you're going to do it, and this is how we're going to teach you the kids. But it is plain as day. I mean, plain as day that this is not working. Now, friends, this is not about how to descend on a road bike. And hopefully you stuck with me on this, because this is nothing to do about riding a bike. It has nothing to do about how to descend better. This has nothing to do about just becoming a better cyclist. Nothing with that. How many times have we, oh, this new thing over here, this is how it's done. This is how I'm going to achieve this. And we drop what we're doing and we're going after this shiny object or this new way to do things, this new and improved, which that has never made much sense. Think about this. How can something be new and improved? Right? Like, if it's improved, wouldn't it not be new? And if it's new, how would it already be improved? Okay, anyways, I digress. Things that keep me up at night. Seriously. Anyways, so we're chasing these things that we're just like, oh, this is going to take me to the next level. This is what it's going to take to get there. It's the grass is the greener on the other side, right? But what I always like to say is, did you water your own? Because there's so many things out there that is very attractive, very sexy. But you want to know what's not attractive, what's not sexy, is the basics. And I've talked about this on the pod before. And John Wooden, in my opinion, the greatest college basketball coach that has ever walked this earth. Phenomenal, phenomenal individual. But he had philosophies that taught you how to play the game. And he is arguably the winningest college basketball coach that ever was. So if you got to play for UCLA and Coach Wooden, you were already the best of the best of the best in the nation, right? Arguably, I mean, you're not just some guy that can ball. I mean, you can ball, right? And you get the call from Wooden and his team getting you over there. Guess what he had you do? As soon as you showed up, you're the best. He sat your ass in a chair, told you to pull your shoes off, pull your socks off, and he taught you how to put your socks on properly. Not how to run triangle offense, not how to do the defense, not how to dribble better, not how to fake out, alley-oop, layups, none of that. He taught you how to put your socks on properly. And almost everybody would look at him and say, Coach, I'm here to play some basketball. Yeah, you are. That's why you're going to learn to put your socks on. Because if you can't put your socks on right, do you know you run 3.2 miles on average during a game of basketball? If you can't put your socks on right, how are you going to be able to run down the field, run down the court the way you need to? How are you going to be able to play the game the way you're supposed to if you cannot put your socks on properly before you put your shoes on? Then we'll go to your shoes. It's the basics that is often overlooked, and we're so quick to push them aside because the basics are boring. The basics are not sexy. The basics, nobody's writing about how incredible these basics are. It's these 8-week, 12-week. It's the I can make you a millionaire if you do this. I can make you an influencer if you do that. I can make you the most successful person you do that. An athlete, the fastest, the fittest, the sin better. I mean, man, we can go down the grocery list of things that is pushed to you daily that'll make you better. But will they? If you haven't figured out the basics, if you haven't figured out how to be the best version of yourself at work, if you haven't figured out how to get your ass out of bed in the morning to get to work on time, if you haven't figured out how to meet your deadlines at work on time, if you haven't figured out how to communicate with your coworkers in a good, productive, positive way, if you haven't figured out how to not eat like an asshole on the weekends and keep your nutrition under wraps, if you haven't figured out how to wake up every day at a certain time and stick to it and be consistent with it, if you haven't figured out how to show up when you really, really don't want to show up, why on earth do we even think that this new shiny object that this person is showing you, that you don't even know who they are, what they're about, and they don't know anything about you, what on earth makes you think that it is going to be the turning point in your life? When you can't get out of bed, when you say you're going to get out of bed in the morning, when you can't stop stuffing your face on the weekends, when you say, this is the time I'm going to do it, when you can't go for a walk around a block, when you say you want to get in shape, when you say you want to be better at work, you're not putting in a little bit of extra time or effort. It's in the basics, in the monotonous stuff that we're just like, oh, this is so boring. is where everybody checks out. But you know who doesn't? It's the people that win. It's the people that know the basics are what's going to take them to the next level. Because if you master the basics, you will control your life and the outcomes with it. Because man, there's so many things that is pushed on us that give these guarantees and promises that everything's going to work out and everything's going to be better, and if you just do this it's going to work. It's the Ozempic phase right now, right? It's like, hey, listen, you can't control your diet, you can't control your eating habits, you can't control your workouts, you can't control you don't want to do any of those. Here's a shot. And I am by no means saying that it is a bad thing, but it is almost getting so mainstream that it's like, listen, it's saying, hey, you can get this weight loss and it'll help, and it's giving you all these positive results, but it's not talking about, are you getting your workouts in? Are you at least walking? Can we talk about nutrition? Can we talk about all this other stuff that'll go with it? We have these, make you a millionaire this year. This person made $333,000 this month and all this other stuff. And it sounds so good. I'm going to go buy that course. But what you don't know is they grind their face off. And yeah, they made it last month. But what you didn't see was the 15-year struggle that it took to get there, and the courses and this and that. There's just so much stuff that is thrown at us. Just like my buddy that was sitting there. This is the new stuff. Homie, if you can't ride a bike normally and keep up with the slowest people going downhill that is riding with the old school way that you said is trash, I don't know if the new way's for you. But it really makes you think. And I sat there and I'm just like, gosh, man, how many of us, myself included, will see this like lady in the red dress thing, right? Matrix style. You're going along, everything's crazy around you, and all of a sudden, everything is kind of opaque. All of a sudden, this lady in the red dress walks by, and that's our focus. There it is. But what we don't see is this bus coming that's just going to mull us over because we're so focused on this one singular thing. Red dress syndrome. Let's just roll with that, right? But here's the thing, is how many times have you started something new and kind of got down on yourself for giving up? But my question is, did you give up, or did it not work for you because you didn't have the systems and the structure in place from the basics, from the solid foundation that is needed to build the house? You see, we're so worried, literally, thinking about this for a second. We are so hyper focused on what color the paint for the inside of the house is going to be that we're not even focusing on the foundation of the house, the thickness of the walls, the insulation in the walls. We're not focused on square footage. We're not focused on what we need. We're just like, what color of gray am I going to make these walls? Man, it is just going to look incredible. Yeah, well, the shit ain't going to look incredible if it's not insulated. Definitely not going to feel incredible. It's not going to look good if the shit's built on sand and falls apart. But we're so focused on what we're going to put in the house, we even forget to build the house. I'm sitting here looking at my daughter's dollhouse that's in my office / podcast studio right now, behind the camera. And it just kind of made me realize, we're just so focused on the new, on that shiny object, that quote unquote red dress, that we're not staying true and committing to the consistent basics to get us there. I don't care if something's, going to make you an overnight success. I don't care if something's going to give you the body you've always wanted. Nothing is going to work unless you have the foundation built. It just cannot. A few pods ago, I was talking about how my daughter, when I was watching her, when she went from not crawling to just kind of laying there and doing her thing, my little kryptonite, right? Hold her in your arms, falling asleep, all the way up to just like now running amok, right? Running here, there, and everywhere. She did not go from laying in my arms, not able to do much other than roll over, to one day literally waking up, going from laying on the floor to running. There's all these basic steps that needed to happen. Same thing for us. And to go back on what I was just asking, is we get so down on ourselves. At least I do, right? Let's do some self digging here, right? How many things have we started and stopped, right? Like we get the momentum going, we're feeling good, but then all of a sudden we're just like, oh man, life happens, throws us a curveball, and we're like, you're trying to push through, then you just realize it's just not working. This just isn't for me. And it's time and time and time and time again. It's kind of like that New Year's resolution, right? How many New Year's resolutions have we had that's like, this is my year? Well, it's been your year for the past 34 years. Sorry to break it to you, homie. But it's because we don't have structure. It's because we don't have a foundation built. Like you can't literally think January 1st gonna be my year if you don't have certain things in place in order to maintain the structure needed to get you to the next level. I was just talking to my buddy tonight, and incredible weight loss, right? He's down 80 some pounds, and he's like, man, my focus this week, and I talk about it in my mentoring group I have, and I tell on Sundays, it's like, hey, this is how we're going to set ourselves up for the week. This is what we need to reflect on. We all need to verbalize, what is one thing we're going to focus on this week? What is it going to be? Some of our challenges, stuff like that. Yeah, you guys got to check out the group. It'll be in the show notes. Anyways, so we're sitting there, and he's like, I'm down 80 pounds. I'm getting close to that 200-pound mark, and I need to, I need to really dial in with my nutrition, really stay focused on it and do what I'm doing to get me below that 200. And now I'm going to contradict myself a little bit. That's why I paused a little bit. I'm like, Now, what he did to get himself down 80 pounds is not what he's going to need to do in order to take it to that next level. And he's getting pretty lean as it is. So he is at that next level, but he's figured out the foundations in order to get you there. Just because you built a foundation on a house, poured the concrete and it's set, does not mean you have a home. You have one of the most important things needed. Now you got to really get into the details, because once that slab is built, now you get to worry about the thickness of the walls, the 2x4s needed, this and that, all that good stuff, right? But how he was getting down to 200 pounds, I'm like, let's talk about it. I'm like, now you need to start looking at other things. Just because you're down, you cannot eat the same way you were when you're at 280 pounds as you will at 200 pounds. Numbers are going to drop. Stuff's going to be moved around. Protein's still going to maintain high. We're not going to go down that rabbit hole. You know my thoughts on that. Got to maintain it. Got to keep it high. But we get so stuck on either what's working now or, oh, squirrel, this one's going to work, that one's going to work, and we jump here, there, and everywhere. And I almost want to say maybe it's because we've tried so many things and we're like, oh, that one didn't work, but maybe this one will work. That one didn't work, so this one over here is going to work. Oh, this person's course, that person's success, this person's formula. We're shown all these things, but yet we have yet to develop a foundation. I'm a firm believer. Once you develop a solid foundation, there's so many things out there that you have access to right now that you see through social media and other outlets that will work, but they will not work until you develop the habits and the routines and the consistency of the basics in order to implement those to make sure they work. Because without that, you're really not going to go anywhere, because you've got you got to commit to the basics, right? It's so important. And I guess to kind of reel this all back in a long, short-ish, winded way, is the new thing, that red dress, that shiny object, won't save you if your basics are weak. They just won't, friends. It is the basics that will work day in and day out. It is the consistency. It is your focus every single day on mastering the basics and fine tuning the basics and making the basics work the best for you. Once you develop that solid foundation, there's so many things later on down the road that will work. And you cannot develop the basics overnight. You cannot develop the basics in 8 weeks. You cannot develop the basics in 6 months. It's something you have to commit to. But here's the thing where you might be like, oh man, so it's going to be longer than 6 months, could be a year, could be 2 years. I can't guarantee how long this is going to take you. But here's what I can tell you is really that magic, that next level, that success you're looking for, I bet it's in those basics that you're so quick to push aside. I bet you it's there. I bet you what you're looking for isn't that course, the group, the thing. I bet it's in those basics that we're avoiding, right? Because it's the things that we're avoiding that we need to do. It's the things that we're not wanting to do that we need to do the most. So, friends, again, the new is not going to save you. The basics are what's going to develop and take you to the next level. Friends, if you saw value, heard value in this, if you think there's somebody, a loved one, a friend, a coworker, anybody in your life that could see some value in this, like, comment, share, send it to them, hit that thumbs up button on the tube, show some love. Check out the community I've built for people like you. It'll be in the show notes. Follow along on Instagram, and I'll leave you with this. If you stay consistent with the basics, you'll never earn the right to the advanced. We'll talk to you next time.